After discovering my CEO husband can't let go of his divorced single mother ex, I started teaching our son to call him uncle when our son had a fever, and his ex called him away in the middle of the night. I touched our son's burning forehead and had him say, "Goodbye, uncle," every time. Our son hesitated for so long, until later, when my husband finally realized what he owed us. He took the initiative to suggest we take family photos together. At the entrance of the photo studio, the ex called again, sobbing on the phone. "Evan, can you come pick up Tanner from kindergarten right now? The other kids are making fun of him for not having a dad." Reluctance flashed across my husband's face. He was about to crouch down and explain to our son. This time, without any prompting from me, our son waved him away. "It's okay, uncle. You go be with your other kid. Mom and I are enough for a family photo." The moment our son said those words, both Evan Harrison and I froze. He said it smoothly and naturally, as if he'd rehearsed the word countless times in his heart. He pulled me along, step by step, toward the photo studio. The family photo session was something Evan had suggested, to make up for missing our son's school event. Our son had been looking forward to it for half a month. I stiffly followed him, my heart feeling like it was being crushed by a stone, the suffocating pressure making me want to cry. I discovered Evan's affair by accident. He went to celebrate Vivian's child's birthday, and when he came back, he forgot about the tickets in his pocket. 3 tickets to Universal Studios. For our son's 6th birthday, he wished for the whole family to go to Universal Studios together, to see his favorite Minions. Evan thought it was childish and rejected the idea without hesitation. A few days later, though, he went with Vivian's child. I found Vivian's Instagram post on Evan's phone. "The most magical place should be visited with the best dad." Photos showed Evan and Vivian holding a child. A picture of the 3 of them together. Vivian was his first love, divorced with a child. That night we had our most explosive fight. I insisted on divorce and taking our child with me. Evan accused me of being unreasonable. He asked how I could bear to let our child grow up without a father. He swore to God that he only felt sympathy for Vivian. Looking at our son's obviously frightened face, I bit my lip until it nearly bled. I knew that if I forced our son to leave with me, he would never forget Evan. But I also knew that if it happened once, it would happen a second time, a third time. I didn't want my child to suffer because of his so-called sympathy. So, I chose another approach. I tricked Evan into signing divorce papers. 30 days until the divorce became official. During those 30 days, if Evan came to his senses, I would pretend nothing had happened, for our son's sake. If not, I would spend those 30 days doing everything I could to help our son become desensitized. Today was day 28. Our son had called Evan uncle on his own. I felt our son's slightly trembling body, but I wasn't happy. Felt like 1,000 needles piercing my heart. As we crossed the street, Evan finally snapped out of it. He took a few steps after us, wanting to ask our son what was going on, when Vivian called again, still with that delicate, sobbing voice. "Evan, where are you? Tanner keeps crying and saying he wants his daddy. I can't calm him down." Evan's steps halted. He stared at our backs, phone in hand, and replied, "Okay, I know. I'll be right there." After hanging up, he sent me a text saying, "Let's talk tonight," then turned and left without hesitation. The roar of a car engine started up, then faded into the distance. Our son stopped walking and buried himself in my arms, tears soaking my clothes. "Mom, can we not have dad anymore?" We didn't take the photos. I took our son straight home. I started packing. While I was booking plane tickets back to my hometown, Vivian sent me a video. The setting was another well-known photo studio in the city. Vivian and Evan were wearing matching outfits, holding a child around 5 years old, posing for the camera at the end of the video. Vivian taunted me as usual. "It's just a family photo. Evan and I can take one anytime." If this had been before in Vivian's provocation, I definitely would have snapped back immediately. But now, watching our son carefully organizing his toys, I only had one thought: how pointless. I exited the chat and booked 2 tickets to Seattle for the day after tomorrow. Just after I paid, Evan came home carrying a strawberry cake. Both our son and I stared in surprise. In the past, he hated strawberry cake the most. Because of this, even though our son inherited my crazy love for strawberries, he would only choose Evan's favorite, matcha mousse, for his birthday. But today, why did he suddenly bring home a strawberry cake? Our son and I looked at each other, both finding it unbelievable. Evan slowly walked in and saw the open luggage. His expression changed slight. Tanner was crying so hard, I stayed with him a bit longer. On my way back, I remembered you both love strawberry cake, so I bought one. "Why are you packing? Are you going on a trip?" I shook my head, then nodded. "I guess so." With only 2 days left until the divorce became official, I didn't want any unexpected complications. Hearing my words, Evan seemed to breathe a sigh of relief.
Before continuing,
The photo studio called me and said you didn't show up. I rescheduled. How about tomorrow? I absolutely won't bail this time. He crouched in front of our son and said it very seriously. Our son paused while organizing his toys, looked at him, then at me, as if he was torn or as if he didn't dare believe anymore. I noticed our son wavering and my heart softened. Okay, it was only going to be the last time anyway. After I agreed, our son's eyes immediately lit up. He grabbed his toys and ran into his room. After he left, I continued packing. Evan came over to me. He struggled before speaking. By the way, about our son calling me uncle today. My heart skipped a. I looked up at him. Evan crouched down, placing the strawberry cake beside me. His voice was helpless but affectionate.
Zoe,
I know what you're thinking. You think I'm too nice to Vivian, and that I've been neglecting you and our son. But I swear I only feel sympathy for Vivian. She's a single mom. I just don't want her to suffer too much. He took my hand and placed it solemnly over his heart.
give me a little more time.
I promise I'll handle things with Vivian and her son properly. I won't let you and our son be wronged. Stared at him blankly. I could barely remember the last time he looked at me so seriously. Maybe it was at our wedding. In the pristine chapel. He held my hand and vowed to treat me well for the rest of his life. Or maybe it was the day our son was born. In the hospital delivery room, he carefully held our son in his arms and trembled as he kissed my forehead. Then he said, "Zoe, I will never let you or our son suffer any injustice." Thinking about those past moments, I was silent for a long time. Finally, I decided to tell him about the divorce. Actually,
Oh,
where did you put that limited edition Lego set I bought for our son last time? Is it in the study cabinet? Vivian says Tanner's really into Lego lately. I'll take it over for him to play with for a few days. After speaking, Evan went to the study, found the Lego set, grabbed his car keys, and hurried out the door.
bang. The door closed.
Evan's figure disappeared. I stared quietly at the door for a long time. Then I finished the sentence I hadn't completed. Actually, our son and I don't need you anymore. Only 2 days left until we left. At midnight, after finally finishing all the packing, I lay exhausted in bed. My phone lit up. Was a message from Evan. Tanner really loved the Lego. I spent the whole evening helping him build it. Vivian specifically asked me to thank you. At midnight, my husband was thanking me on behalf of another woman. I pulled at the corner of my mouth, too speechless to even laugh. But I was too tired to be angry. Outcome was already decided anyway. I opened the chat and casually replied, "No need to thank me. I didn't give it to her. Also, that Lego was our son's favorite birthday present. He's been waiting for you to have time to build it with him." After sending that message, I turned off my phone and closed my eyes to sleep. I didn't care about Evan on the other end, whose expression changed when he saw the message. The next morning at 8, Evan came home unusually early. He took off his coat as he entered and saw several neatly arranged suitcases in the living room. He froze in place. "Do you need to pack this much for a trip?" Without even putting down his coat, he walked to the bedroom with visible panic and asked me. I was helping our son get dressed and didn't look back. "We're going far." Upon hearing this, he immediately looked at our son. Only after receiving a confirming nod did his expression relax. He put his coat aside and took out 3 Universal Studios tickets. "Haven't you been upset that I didn't take our son to Universal Studios? I bought tickets for today. The 3 of us can go together." He displayed the tickets in front of me and our son, like he was showing off, his face full of indulgence for a moment. I wondered if I'd misheard something. It had been almost a month since that incident,
And he was only thinking of it now.
but then I thought of the string of unread messages on my phone when I woke up this morning, and I suddenly understood. So it was compensation. I didn't say anything and continued focusing on dressing our son. But our son was incredibly excited, his eyes blinking as he stared at me. "Mom, I want to go." My eyes curved into a smile. Before I could speak, I heard Evan stammer. "But if you want to go, there's one condition. Vivian found out we're taking family photos today, and she's worried Tanner will be upset if he hears about it. So the family photo thing, let's do it another time." As he said this, his expression was full of guilt. Our son froze. The smile in his eyes visibly receded bit by bit. "I see." He slowly lowered his head and said nothing more. His eyes turned red, but Evan didn't notice. He continued, "It's just this one small request from Vivian. I thought about it, and it shouldn't be a big deal. We're just postponing the photos this time. There's always next time. Leo, what do you say?" He didn't know that our son and I would be leaving tomorrow. This was his last chance. But neither our son nor I said anything. We just nodded silently.
Fine. Okay.
Evan breathed a sigh of relief, his face visibly showing a smile, as if a weight had been lifted. "Then I'll tell Vivian right now. 3 o'clock this afternoon. Meet at Universal Studios. After speaking, he got up to leave. When he reached the door, he turned around. Honey, Leo, you're both so wonderful. Our son. And I didn't say anything. After he left, our son jumped down from the bed and took out a backpack he prepared from the closet. Mom, I don't want to see Uncle anymore. Can we leave early? My breath hitched. The innocence in his voice, stripped entirely of the temper tantrums a normal 6-year-old would throw, was the sharpest blade of all. He wasn't throwing a fit. He wasn't crying. He was just tired. At 6 years old, my son had learned the bitter art of resignation. I looked down at his little hands, tightly gripping the straps of his Buzz Lightyear backpack. He had packed his own essentials, a few favorite books, his toothbrush, and a framed photo of just the two of us from my last birthday. There was no trace of Evan in his bag. A heavy, suffocating weight suddenly lifted from my chest, replaced by a cold, absolute clarity. Yes, baby, I whispered, kneeling to his eye level and kissing the crown of his head. We can leave right now. I pulled out my phone and changed our flights. I paid the exorbitant same-day change fees without a second thought. Our flight to Seattle was now boarding at 1:30 p.m. We moved in silence. I zipped up the remaining suitcases, called a premium car service, and left the house keys on the kitchen island. Beside the keys, I placed the finalized divorce agreement. The 30-day cooling-off period ended at midnight tonight. My lawyer already had my power of attorney to file the final decree first thing in the morning. Evan's signature was already on it, the one I had tricked him into signing by burying it in a stack of insurance and property documents he never bothered to read. As I walked out the door, I glanced at the trash can. The strawberry cake sat at the bottom, perfectly intact, slowly melting into a sugary, pathetic mess. I didn't leave a note. Disappointment needs no words. At 2:45 p.m., Evan stood outside the iconic spinning globe of Universal Studios. He checked his luxury watch, adjusting the collar of his polo shirt. He felt a rare sense of accomplishment. He had managed Vivian's emotions, secured the tickets, and was about to be the hero to his son. In his mind, he was balancing both worlds perfectly. He was a good man, a compassionate man. At 3:05 p.m., he texted me. Where are you guys? I'm near the globe. No reply. At 3:20 p.m., he called. The number you have dialed is currently powered off. A flicker of annoyance crossed his face. He paced back and forth, muttering about women being habitually late, when a familiar voice called out, Evan. He turned to see Vivian walking toward him, holding Tanner's hand. She was dressed in a pristine white sundress, looking fragile and surprised. Tanner was clutching a Minion balloon. Vivian, what are you doing here? Evan asked, his annoyance momentarily displaced by confusion. Oh, Tanner saw a commercial for Universal this morning and wouldn't stop crying. Since you mentioned you were coming today, I thought we could just run into you. I hope you don't mind, Vivian said, casting her eyes downward in that delicate, helpless way she always did. Where's Zoe and Leo? Did they go inside already? For the first time in a month, a strange, uneasy knot tightened in Evan's stomach. It wasn't just Vivian's coincidental appearance. It was the absolute silence from my end. I was never unreachable. If I was running late, I always sent a text. They're not here yet, Evan said, pulling his phone out again. Still off. Well, Vivian smiled gently, stepping closer. Tanner is getting a bit tired standing in the sun. Maybe we could go in first? Zoe knows her way around. I'm sure they'll find us. Uncle Evan. Tanner tugged at Evan's trousers. I want to see the Minions. Evan looked at the little boy, then at the entrance. The savior complex that usually flooded his veins felt surprisingly dormant. Instead, a creeping dread was inching up his spine. No, Evan said, surprising even himself. Vivian's smile faltered. What? I bought these tickets for Leo, Evan muttered, backing away slightly. He's been waiting for this. I need to go find them. You two go ahead. Without waiting for Vivian's carefully rehearsed tears, Evan turned and hurried to his car. The drive home, usually 30 minutes, took 20 as he wove recklessly through traffic. He burst through the front door of our house.
Zoe. La.
Silence answered him. The house felt entirely different. It wasn't just quiet, it was hollow. He walked into the living room. The suitcases that had been there that morning were gone. He rushed into Leo's room. The closet was half empty. The toys on the shelf were gone. The bed was perfectly made. Panic, raw and blinding, finally seized him. He stumbled into the kitchen, his eyes landing on the kitchen island. The keys. The thick stack of papers. He approached the counter with trembling hands. Decree of divorce. His eyes scanned the document, landing on the final page. There was my neat signature, and right beside it, his own frantic scrawl from a month ago. 30-day cooling-off period complete. Evan's knees gave out. He gripped the edge of the marble counter, knocking the papers to the floor. No, he choked out, the sound echoing in the empty kitchen.
No, no, no.
She said she was just going on a trip. She said, he remembered my face from yesterday. The calm, unbothered way I nodded when he canceled the family photos. He remembered Leo's voice, devoid of tears, casually saying, "It's okay, uncle. You go be with your other kid." It hadn't been a phase. It hadn't been a tantrum. It had been an eviction notice from their hearts. His phone buzzed. He snatched it, praying it was me. It was Vivian. "Tanner is crying because you left. Are you coming back? We need you, Evan." For the first time, the text didn't make him feel needed. It made him feel sick. He looked toward the trash can and saw the crushed remains of the strawberry cake. The cake he bought because Vivian told him it was Tanner's favorite, now remembering that he hated it, and barely recalling that his own wife and son loved it. With a guttural scream, Evan swept the remaining items off the kitchen counter, the shattering of glass violently breaking the dead silence of the house. 6 months later, Seattle. The Pacific Northwest rain was a gentle drizzle against the window of my new office. I took a sip of my coffee, reviewing the quarterly reports for the marketing firm I had joined. Getting back into the workforce after 6 years of being a stay-at-home mom had been terrifying, but the promotion I received last week proved I hadn't lost my touch. "Mom." I turned my chair just as Leo ran into my office, his new nanny trailing behind him with an apologetic smile. Leo was dressed in a little yellow raincoat, holding up a Polaroid camera. "Look." I took a picture of the Space Needle. I crouched down and took the developing photo from his hands. As the image cleared, I smiled. It was a bit crooked, but beautiful. "It's wonderful, sweetheart. You're getting so good at this." When we first moved to Seattle, Leo had been quiet. He didn't ask about his father. He didn't cry at night. But he was withdrawn. To help him express himself, I bought him a camera. I told him he was the director of his own life now, and he could capture whatever family moments he wanted. He thrived. The dark circles under his eyes vanished. The hesitation when he spoke disappeared. He was a vibrant, happy 7-year-old. Our home in Seattle was smaller than the mansion in the city, but it was filled with laughter, the smell of baking, and absolute peace. I checked my phone. There was an email from my lawyer. "Zoe, Evan Harrison is still refusing to sign the final property division settlement. He's contesting the asset split, claiming he wants a face-to-face mediation. Shall I file a motion to compel?" I sighed, typing back a quick yes. "Do not give him my address." For 6 months, Evan had been a ghost I refused to acknowledge. He had tried calling, emailing, sending gifts to my parents' house, and practically harassing my old friends. I had blocked him on everything. The divorce was finalized legally the day after we left, but the financial unwinding was a messy process I left entirely to the lawyers. I didn't want his money. I just wanted my share of what we built together. But Evan was using the money as a hostage, a desperate leash to force me to look at him again. 1,000 miles away, Evan sat in a sprawling, empty mansion, surrounded by half-empty bottles of scotch. He looked nothing like the sharp, commanding CEO he used to be. His face was unshaven, his eyes bloodshot, his shirt wrinkled. The house was a mess. "Evan, this is ridiculous." A sharp voice cut through his drunken haze. He looked up. Vivian was standing in the living room, her arms crossed, looking at him with thinly veiled disgust. Tanner was next to her, kicking the leg of the expensive coffee table. "What do you want, Vivian?" Evan slurred, rubbing his temples. "You promised to take Tanner to private school admissions today." "You missed the interview," she snapped. "Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was for me? I thought you said you were going to step up for us." Evan stared at her. The delicate, weeping flower he used to pity was gone. Over the last 6 months, with Zoe completely out of the picture, Vivian had moved her things into the guest room under the guise of helping him through his depression. Slowly, the truth had revealed itself. She wasn't a helpless victim of a cruel world. She was a leech. When Zoe was around, Vivian played the tragic, needy ex to stroke his ego. But now that he was all hers, she demanded everything: his money, his time, his status, with a sense of ruthless entitlement. "Where is it?" Evan suddenly asked, his voice low. "Where is what?" "The Lego." Evan stood up, swaying slightly. "The limited edition Star Wars Lego. I brought Tanner the day they left." "Where is it?" Tanner stopped kicking the table. "I broke it." Evan froze. He slowly turned to the boy. "You what?" "I didn't like it. It was too hard to build," Tanner whined. "I threw it down the stairs. Mommy bought me a PlayStation instead." Something inside Evan snapped. A physical, violent tearing in his chest. That Lego was Leo's birthday present. Leo, who used to sit patiently on the floor, sorting pieces by color, waiting for his dad to come home so they could build it together. Leo, who never complained. Leo, who called him uncle because he was too smart to pretend a ghost was a father. Evan looked at Vivian. She didn't look apologetic. She looked annoyed. "It's just a toy, Evan. Buy another one." Stop acting like a lunatic, she said, rolling her eyes. Get out, Evan whispered. Excuse me? Get out. Evan roared, kicking the coffee table so hard the glass cracked. Take your kid and get the hell out of my house. You destroyed my family. You manipulated me, and I was stupid enough to let you. Vivian flinched, genuinely frightened for the first time. You're crazy. You drove her away yourself, Evan. You're just blaming me because you can't face what a pathetic loser you are. She grabbed Tanner's hand and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Evan collapsed onto the sofa, burying his face in his hands, releasing dry, agonizing sobs. He had sacrificed his brilliant, loving wife and his perfect, quiet son for a woman who despised him and a child who broke his son's treasures. He reached for his phone and dialed his private investigator. I don't care how much it costs, Evan rasped. Find her. Find Zoe. It took him 2 more months. It was a Saturday afternoon. The Seattle air was crisp and smelled of pine. I was holding a basket of fresh groceries, walking down the sidewalk with Leo, who was happily snapping pictures of a stray cat. Make sure you get the lighting right, little director, I teased, adjusting the scarf around my neck. I got it, Mom. The sun is right behind him. Leo beamed. We turned the corner toward our townhouse, and I stopped dead in my tracks. Sitting on the steps of our porch, looking like a hollowed-out shell of a man, was Evan. He had lost weight. The tailored suit hung loosely on his frame. When he looked up and saw us, his dull eyes ignited with a desperate, frantic light. He scrambled to his feet, almost tripping over his own shoes. Zoe.
Lao.
His voice cracked. He took a step forward, raising his hands as if approaching a wild animal. I finally found you. I instinctively stepped in front of Leo, my heart hammering, not out of love, but out of absolute intrusion. How did you find this address, Evan? My voice was ice. Please, Zoe, don't look at me like that, he begged, tears immediately spilling down his cheeks. He fell to his knees on the damp Seattle pavement, right there in the middle of the street. I'm so sorry.
God, I'm so sorry.
I was blind. I was arrogant. I know what Vivian is now. I kicked her out. I cut her off completely. It's just me. I'm here for you. I'm here for our family. He reached out, trying to grab the hem of my coat. I stepped back, disgusted. Don't touch me, I said sharply. There is no our family, Evan. That ended 7 months ago. No, you just needed a break, he babbled, looking up at me with pathetic desperation. We can fix this. I'll sign whatever you want. I'll move to Seattle. I'll quit my job. Just please, let me come home. Let me be a husband. Let me be a father. He turned his tear-streaked face to Leo, who was peeking out from behind my legs. Leo, buddy. Evan choked out, trying to force a warm smile through his sobbing. Daddy's here. Daddy's so sorry he missed your birthday. Daddy bought you the newest camera equipment. I have it all in the car. Please, buddy, give Daddy a hug. He held his arms open wide, waiting for the little boy to run into them. He waited for the redemption he felt he was finally owed. Leo looked at him. My son didn't hide behind me. He stepped out, his little yellow rain boots splashing in a puddle. He looked at the man kneeling on the ground, crying hysterically. There was no anger in Leo's eyes. There was no sadness. There was only the mild curiosity a child gives to a stranger crying on the street. Leo lifted his Polaroid camera, aimed it at Evan, and pressed the button. The flash blinded Evan for a second, and the little machine whirred as it spit out the photo. Leo took the photo, looked at it, and then looked back at Evan. It's okay to cry, Leo said softly. Evan's face lit up with a fragile, desperate hope. Yes, buddy. Daddy's just so happy to see you. But you can't come inside, Leo interrupted, his voice smooth and natural. He slipped his small hand into mine, holding on tight. He looked at Evan one last time, his eyes completely void of the love he had spent 6 years trying to give him. Goodbye, Uncle. The word hung in the cold Seattle air. It wasn't a rehearsal anymore. It wasn't a tactic. It was the truth. Evan froze. The hope drained from his face, replaced by a horror so absolute it seemed to stop his breathing. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. The realization finally hit him, heavy as a tombstone. You can't break a heart twice when there's nothing left to break. Come on, Leo, I said softly, my chest filling with immense, undeniable pride for the strong boy standing beside me. The groceries are getting heavy. Okay, Mom. We walked past him, up the steps, and unlocked the door. We stepped into the warmth of our home, the smell of vanilla and safety wrapping around us. I didn't look back as I closed the door. But just before the lock clicked into place, I heard a primal, agonizing wail echo from the street. The sound of a man who finally realized that he had burned down his own heaven to warm someone else's hell, and now he would be left in the cold forever. I turned the deadbolt, took off my coat, and smiled at my son. So, I said, clapping my hands together. Strawberry cake for dessert? Leo's eyes lit up, bright and completely unbroken. Yes, please.